what was the protocol for turning off people's water, and if it was in writing. Some sort of notice is customary, as we've now been told. Melissa Crow called Doug on the phone, and he said he had something, he would get it to us. But as Melissa said, the information she had was part of their 9/11 safety procedures, and she was not authorized to release any of that information. It had to come from Doug. We obtained our historical record of our account. We then asked Melissa to be placed on this agenda for today's meeting. Later the same day, around 4 o'clock, Doug showed up at our front door with a sealed envelope. He gave the envelope to Stephen and said, "If your wife wants any other information from Southwest Boone County Water Association, she must put it in writing." He then turned and walked around and got back into his truck. At this point, Stephen opened the envelope and saw what is a boil water order policy for Southwest Boone Water Association. Stephen immediately called Doug's cell and said, "Doug, first, Sonia didn't ask for this information, I did, while at the office on the 30th. And for the record, this isn't what I asked for. I asked for the notice or information was given to the public when the water is going to be turned off for a test or any other repair situation." Doug responded, "Oh well, those office girls get things wrong all the time." For the record, Doug, and this is really critical, you know our names. I'm neither a sheep or a goat. And when you refer to a woman in that tone and manner, it's insulting, to say the least. We sat in our home, enjoyed our coffee, enjoyed our cookie, our Christmas gifts. At Christmas time, you've asked and obtained water samples on many occasions from our home, from my kitchen sink. To us, you have now lost all these privileges. You have turned this into an adversarial situation which could have been avoided entirely, as was avoided with Arkansas State Highway Department. They owned up to their mistakes, and they promised to fix the issues in front for drainage. They have done so. They did that within a week to 10 days. Mike Brazil stood in our driveway and apologized for what they had done back in July, him and Tommy Taylor. On January 4th, we had Scott Osbrooks, geologist, supervisor with Arkansas Geological Survey Department from Little Rock, here along with his associates. Cody Trawick, geologist, David Johnston, geologist, which specializes in water. Along with these gentlemen were our plumber, Mike Arcan from Harrison Plumbing, L.D. Shields, from Ozark Grading and Paving, which is our contractor of choice. And mind you, it's a choice. We paid that man a lot of money. Tommy Taylor and Mike Brazil with Arkansas State Highway Department, Bobby Estes, who is a neighbor, Ron Ballard, who also has property on Railroad, who has had a huge water bill that plans on speaking to you about it today. George McKay was there, and he gave us a lot of information. Also present, one thing that Mr. McKay shared with us is with great detail about the water leaks and problems he's been having at his home, to the extent that he's had to replace subflooring, valves, pressure, under fixtures, all the way around his home. And I want to caution you, the man went into great detail. Scott Moore with the Arkansas Health Department was also present, as the inspector, along with a Mr. Youngblood, who identified himself as a tag-along rider with Scott Moore since he was in the food industry, as he called it. But he also agreed there's a lot of water coming from someplace. Another neighbor on Railroad, John Sewell, came by as well. No fewer than 14 people, Stephen and I, but no sign of Doug Wasson or Alan Estes with Southwest Boone County Water Association. So, we come before this board to ask these questions. Number one, same as Scott Osberg asked us, why didn't they do a full pressure test on the lines on the 29th? That's a good question, and one question we want answered. Why? Number two, why was it Doug Wasson and his crew not answering all our messages and pointing fingers towards the Sims answering service, the office girls, the Estes family, and every place other than Southwest Boone County Water Association or themselves? At best, this is a sign of negligence. I'm sorry, I've had a mild stroke and I'm having trouble with certain words. That's a sign of negligence. Negligence. At worst, it's a sign of, at worst, at best, it's a sign of negligence. At worst, it's a sign of complete cover-up. What correction will be made to guard against this same lack of care, concern, or action as was demonstrated by both Doug and his crew? Number 3, why wasn't Doug and his crew forthcoming with actual testing he can do that he could do? And why would he contact Arkansas Rural Water Association? Which is, we've now learned, is a free service provided by grants from our government. Especially now we learn from the professional geologist and Dennis Sternberg, chlorine hits tests on surface water after it hits the air, evaporates. So it's not an accurate or reliable test, especially in this case. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, I've learned a great deal, and so has my husband, about water. The flow of water, the topographical maps, and our home and the land and where the cattle ponds are and where they're not. Number 4, why wasn't Doug and his crew present during the geologist's visit, especially since they were looking at Southwest Boone County Water Associates lines, and Doug, along with his crew, knew this fact. If someone was in my backyard, so to speak, I sure would want to help or ask to be present. Rather, he ran up and down the road numerous times watching this parade of specialists. Why didn't he want to know? We believe it's because he already knows. One or more of two things are happening. Either Doug was being told not to help, or he and his crew are doing this on their own because they haven't been doing their job effectively. Why now? After the facts, is it that Doug has shown keen interest in the report and finding we have today from Scott Osbrooks, the geologist with the state of Arkansas? And why, number 5, why did Doug tell us no one in the area was having meter changes, water leaks, when in fact he knew about it completely, as we now have learned from Mr. Ballard, Mr. McKay, and Mr. Sewell? Number 6, we want to know why we haven't received any